Everybody had a hand in this. Our names are on the front of it, but it was a group project.
What's this book about that you'd like people to know, David?
Well, it's co-written. I'm a co-author with John Hollinger, who invented Purr. You know John.
Yep.
And the staff, the NBA staff at The Athletic, and our great editor, Rob Peterson. I mean, everybody had a hand in this. Our names are on the front of it, but it was a group project, to be sure. It's about who we think the best 100 players who ever played in the NBA are, which is designed by its definition to be, what's the word? Not
argument driven. Just say
I know people will disagree.
Yes,
I know people will disagree.
I know. Okay. I know, David. You're from that era of like, let's not scream at each other, let's not yell at each other. We can have conversations, but this is definitely an argument starter. Do you list it from 1 to 100, or it's just it's just 100? Once you're in, you're in. You're not.
No, it's listed from 100 to 1. We wanted to have a little bit of suspense in it when you buy the book. So you start with 100, and you work your way down to 1. Or work your way up to 1, I guess it would be.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, we know people are going to disagree, and that's okay because nobody has a font on wisdom, and everybody has their right to their opinion. We happen to think our opinion is the correct one.
Well, I mean,
based on
naming Michael,
our years of experience.
Naming Michael Oluwakandi #1 overall is really provocative.
We had a lot of debate about that, Rich, really. I mean, it was tough.
Oh, wait a minute. At
the end of the day, you got to go with your gut.
Different Michael. My bad. Do you want to get into that, or you want people to buy it to get into that?
I mean, there's no secrets. I mean, I don't think we're not being coy about who #1 is. I mean, it's Michael Jordan.
Well, go ahead and deliver why. Obviously there's LeBron too, and that's been the conversation. Sure. I mean, that is, in shows like this one, certainly during basketball season when there's a lull, that's an easy way to light up a phone line. But I give you the phone line, if you will, conversation. I give you the floor here on why Jordan over LeBron, David.
Right. Well, I always say this when people have asked me about this over the years. LeBron's got a case, right? Like, it's not like he doesn't have a case. He's got a case. It's a good case. It's a really good case. With his longevity, being great in year 22 is insane. That just doesn't make any sense. Still being this good, the championships, the MVPs, all of that, but and the scoring record, all of that. It's a legitimate, real case. Kareem's got a real, legitimate case, right? With his history of winning, nobody's won more MVPs in the NBA than Kareem. He won 6 titles, 6 MVPs. He scored 38,000 points, a record that stood for almost 40 years, with essentially one move. And that's what is amazing to me about Kareem is I know he had some putbacks and dunks and he made 1 3-pointer in his career. But basically, Rich, he had one move. And everybody knew what the move was and nobody could stop it. So that, to me, that's an amazing case to make for greatness and affecting winning. The reason why I think Jordan's #1, and having seen all of these guys play, Michael Jordan's got the greatest will of any professional athlete I've ever seen. Never seen anybody who was as driven as he was, not to just win, but to dominate. He sent everybody home. Isaiah and the Pistons got him early, but after the Bulls broke through, nobody beat him ever. So didn't need a 7th game for an NBA final in an NBA Finals. Won all 6 titles in 6 games or less. Dominated at every level. Was a great defensive player earlier in his career. Was still a really good defensive player late in his career. And is the greatest scorer that I've ever seen. Could score from anywhere against anybody at any time. I just think the totality of his impact on the game, his impact socially, his impact globally, all of it just leads to the same conclusion. He's the best. He's the best ever. Bill Russell's got an argument. He's got 11 of them. Michael only had 6. So that's an argument, right? That's a legitimate argument. And Bill Russell's in our top 5, but he's not. Somebody's got to be one. We had to pick one, and it was Michael.
That's who I would choose too, David. And I am watching LeBron now, and I am marveling. And there's reason to marvel. There's reason to marvel, and there's reason to talk about him as the greatest of all time. There's numbers to support it. There is a cultural impact as well, if you want to use that as a metric, as you did for Jordan. And, Jordan kind of paved the way for LeBron's success in that regard as well. But I've never seen anybody rip their hearts out and show it to them pumping and be glad to do it and to brag about it to anybody and then woof at anybody that would have an issue with any of it. I've never seen anything like it. We will never see it. Actually, Kobe's the only one that approached that regard, right? I've never seen it. It was Tiger-esque in a certain way that if you were born at the wrong time, you were not winning because Michael Jordan was born at the same time. That's basically it, David.
Yeah. Rich, what I've said this all over the years many times. If Michael Jordan were 5'6" instead of 6'6", he'd be the greatest serial killer in the history of serial killers. Because he's an insane person. God!
Wow,
he's crazy. Like he's crazy, and thank God he's tall. That's what I would because he just, to your point, like he didn't want to just beat you. He wanted to destroy you. He wanted you to be. And sometimes that's not a good thing. I get it. Like, I understand that, we're in a different era maybe than we were 30 years ago. But 30 years ago, that's what you had to do to be a champion. You couldn't win an NBA championship being a nice guy. Like, you couldn't. Larry Bird wasn't a nice guy. Magic wasn't a nice guy. Isaiah wasn't a nice guy. To beat those guys, you had to be ruthless, right? Like, that's an incredible gauntlet to run. To have to run to win an NBA title. Those are all-timers. And Michael had to become that guy and became that guy to not only win, but then to dominate in a way that none of them dominated for that long, right? It was almost a decade of dominance. That to me is why I just think Jordan's will was unlike any that I've ever seen.
The Basketball 100 again, David Aldridge, one of the co-authors. Everybody should check it out right now and get it, certainly for the basketball lover and fan in your life and time.